So, hello everyone. I would like to squeeze, as much knowledge in these 15 minutes, but what it takes to be fundable is actually like a topic which would require a big book to be actually fully told. So, shortly about myself. So, I have like a decade of experience in VC investments. So, I've worked both for financial VCs and the corporate VCs. Both for Polish and foreign ones, especially I have experience in working for a corporate CEO of German telecom. And now I'm working with a BLDG venture, which is a seed stage investment fund, especially interested in projects in ITC and industrial use cases. So usually I try to ask what is interesting for the public, but let's keep this for the after question because of this hybrid form. So one thing that is very important is to identify who are you talking to, because well, I've seen for numerous times that startups tend to send like one universal message, let's call it this way, to every VC email they can find, without any context, without any details, without regarding to either what's the stage of the particular fund, what are the companies in their portfolio, who are the managing or venture partners in that fund. So this cold mailing pretty much never works. So try to see who do you want to approach, maybe try to get a warm intro, and then start this way. So one thing is you need to understand what's the purpose of the VC fund. So let's put it clear, they're in here for the money. So they want to invest and they want to make money on investment. They don't support, most of them, the only idea, they're not NGOs, they don't support it for everyone's good. They basically want to earn money. And you need to understand what is the particular stage of the fund, meaning like what kind of the project they are looking for. So going for a fund which is big and has big tickets, meaning like invested in millions when you're just beginning, is probably not the best idea. So it's not going to happen. So look at what the fund is investing and try to, for example, find a synergy with their portfolio companies, because that's a great first step. So one important thing is when you approach a VC and you want to be fundable, show various paths how your company can work. So basically, ideal situation is if you can come up with scenarios when you show, for example, what's the basic scenario. So we're gonna make it either way. We believe in these projects, we're gonna do it regardless if we get investment or not. And then the second scenario, which shows like, okay, if we get this additional rocket fuel, which is the VC funding, is okay, we're gonna do so much more if we get this extra push. Remember one thing, for the VC fund, they're not gonna stay with you forever. They're not your co-founders. The investor needs to exit. So at some point, you need to actually tell them, how do you see the company working? So for some projects, it can be IPOs, for example, for companies in gaming. For example, for fintech, the usual way the companies work is the exit to an industrial player. For example, bank company, like in the case of Seneca. But the idea is that you should think about like, okay, I propose take this journey with me, give me some extra fuel, and then that's when you can lift the ship. That's the safe harbor that you can live. So when I'm speaking with startups, I usually like to tell them that start from the pitch, but understanding the pitch as a comprehensive way to explain what your startup does and the various areas it needs to focus on. So basically, it's not just the physical deck that you actually circulate around. That's important. You need to have it. For example, if you speak with someone, it's always great to send a deck afterwards. But the pitch is the complete description in a lot of areas. One thing that is very often I see in startups are the names. They are complete disasters in a lot of cases. So if I cannot remember the name, for example, when speaking with my team members, and I cannot recall, okay, that's the name of the team, but I need to explain, these are the guys who are doing this and that and that. That's a mistake. You need to actually pay attention how you call it. That's not grant writing, so you shouldn't use like very long descriptive names like a system that is designed to do this and that. No, come up with a name that is easy to remember and someone actually can spell it. For example, if they want to write it down or find it online. Important thing is to be able to tell what your project is actually doing. That's a common mistake with a lot of startups. They don't focus on one important thing they're the best at. Actually, for example, if you look at Dropbox history, the unique value proposition was simple. Access to your files from any device, just a common shared folder everywhere. But a lot of startups miss it. There's no unique, there's no vision. They don't know where to go to. And be careful with the names like we're Uber for this or we're Netflix for that, because, well, it was very fancy in 2014, but since then, it passed. So try to actually explain it in your own terms, because if someone doesn't believe in a particular business model, for example, of Uber, they may already get a bad impression of your project early on. So important thing is to actually show what your problem is. A lot of startups start approaching VC saying, but okay, that's our great solution. But you need to actually start one step before. You need to tell what the problem you're solving is. And for VC, important decision if to go further with a startup is very often if the problem they're solving is a painkiller, meaning that's very important for a huge group of potential customers, or is it with vitamins? So it's nice, but not a lot of people are going to pay for it. So you need to actually point out what do you want to solve and for whom. After you actually show to the VC what the problem you're solving is, then you can move forward to the solution. But these two parts should be very connected. If you show that the problem is, for example, let's get an idea that, for example, you're making a car. So the problem is not lack of cars. The problem is that the people want to move from one location to another. So your solution should be describing this way, that we provide an easy and convenient way to change location for people. So this should be connected. You shouldn't go into too many details, into technicalities, because what technology you're using is not that important at this stage. What you should be a master of when you actually want to be fundable, you should know everything about your market. So you need to know what the trends are, what are the sizes of particular niches, you need to know how many people may want to use it. So if you get a question like, okay, who's your target customer, you should have it at hand. If there's a very particular data you're being asked and you don't know, you can always say, okay, I'll check that out and I'll get back to you. But you need to be the master of your market. You need to actually get as much data as is possible. And to be honest, you should know more about the market than the disease you're approaching. A very common thing I hear is the startup saying like, there's no competition, we're unique. Well, when you say that, that's pretty much a clear definition of being non-fundable by a VC. So pretty much everything has a competition. It might not be direct. For example, when you had the first cars, you moved from horses to cars, but they still were different means of transportation. So you can say, okay, we're better at this, we're faster, we're more convenient. We can save people time or money, but don't say there's no competition. Because saying that, it may mean two things. Either you don't know your industry and you cannot find different ways of solving that. You're kind of, let's say, keeping some things because you're afraid that you're not better than your competition, or you have not done your homework and not done your research. Team is the thing that you invest in the early stage. So basically keep that as a very important factor. Please, what are the things that make the startups unfundable at the early stage? as for example, what I call the broken cap table. So keep, for example, as I think Anna mentioned that, so if you start, sign a founders agreement, which actually defines what every person in the team is responsible of, what are the milestones they should reach, how long they should stay with their companies, because, for example, some people's involvement may be different at different stage of company's existence. But if you get, for example, founder who has heard of the company and because of the, say, miscommunication or quarrels or fight within the team, they stop working for the company. If it's an early stage startup, it's pretty much the definition, like what the VCs do avoid. Another thing that you should have when you're approaching VC is a marketing strategy. Obviously, if you're in early stage, there might be some channels that, for example, you need to test, but you need to have like a marketing thesis, for example, a couple of channels you want to reach your customers and a rough idea how much they cost to, for example, acquire a customer. Obviously, the VC money is risk-taking, so it should encourage you to test, especially in a very intensive way, which channels work and which don't. So don't be afraid to actually say like, okay, we have a couple of ideas. We expect these results to happen in the acquisition. But if this way doesn't work, we're going to change. For example, the example of UiPath from Romania, which is now currently a unicorn, is they took the accelerators and VC money to actually test and burn them very quickly, and they actually see what works and what doesn't. So you need to have an idea. You need to know how to test them and how much does it cost. For example, we want to use X thousands of dollars or zlotys to test our concept. Another thing which is often missing is the revenue model. So basically telling how are you going to make the money. So honestly, that's a big problem, for example, for social impact startups, because in a lot of cases, it's very hard to pinpoint the revenue model, where the cash is. But you need to actually give an idea to a VC what is the way that it's going to bring you money. If you don't have a revenue model and you say like, yeah, I'm going to do it because that's my passion, it's not really going to get you an investment. Among other stuff are the financial. So basically, apart from a deck that you may want to circulate around, is the budget. It's like lots of startups say like, come on, we're a startup, we cannot plan, but at least cost-wise, you can say, how much money do we need to get to MVP? How much money do we need to get to further stages? How much do we want to use to test our marketing strategies? So be prepared to be asked, how much money do you need? And how are you going to spend it? Among other things, even in the early stage startup, it's very good to actually have traction and validation of some sort. So there can be different things. But saying like, oh, I only have idea and I will not do anything until I get funded is a deal breaker for most of the VCs. So currently, there's so many tools, either in software or hardware, that can help you develop an MVP or a simple version of your product. There are so many ways that you can talk to your customers and bring proofs to the meeting that, okay, these are the things we've checked. This thing worked, this thing didn't. And that's how we want to progress. So early stage prototype is a good thing to have. Next thing, be honest about your needs. Saying like, okay, it's like we have some people in our team, but we're missing a particular person. It's not a bad thing to admit, because it shows that you have the concept of the whole thing and you're aware of maybe some drawbacks that your idea has. Be honest about your financial needs. So if, for example, particular VC is not able to give you the ticket that is needed, especially, for example, for biotech projects, don't play like, okay, just give us anything and we see how it goes, because it rarely ends well. Be honest what you need and what for. Maybe some common mistakes that happen that make make it harder to fundraise. So don't be boring. Try to actually interest the other side, because VCs are people as well. So just imagine that you're seeing like hundreds of pitches as a first step every month to make it interesting. Try to actually bring some flavor into your project. Don't be like corporate. VCs are very rarely corporate, so they try to be cool. They are interesting. Make your project be that as well. As I mentioned before, don't get too technical, especially not in the early stage of discussing with the VC. Don't go into too much details. You're gonna bore them to death if you're discussing, okay, we're gonna use this or that technology. Strong point, but never strong enough. Don't ever say there's no competition. Point out where you're good. Excellent if you have like a competition overview that, for example, if you get the question from the VC fund, they're like, yes, that's what we made strong research. These are our competitors. These are direct, these are indirect. That's what we can learn from these ones. That's a good solution from there. If I get something like this, that's a great start to be funded. Well, painting grass to green, never overstate what you're able to do. If you're able to deliver particular things, be honest. VCs usually see thousands of projects, so they probably seen something in at least similar area. So if you have problems with particular part of your project, be honest. You can say, like, do you have an idea that you want to test how to solve it, but don't overstate stuff. And if you need, for example, to prepare it in some way, use professional help. There's lots of consultants, there's programs like this one, but don't be afraid to actually prepare yourself. There's only one chance to make first impression. So usually, if you waste your chance with a particular VC, well, you need to take the chance with another one in the future. And last but not least, find the right match. So VCs are people, they have particular networks, they can introduce you to potential customers. So don't focus just to get any first one that is interested. Try to see if there's chemistry between yourselves and the particular fund. So you can, as I mentioned, try to find introduction from your network, see if there's any connection. It's always make it easier to talk with people that you have some common things together with. So thank you for your attention. I'll be happy